And it looked like Sophie Cunningham opens up about Kelsey Plum speaking on Caitlin Clark managing her all-stars. Now, if you guys didn't know, Sophie Cunningham has a new podcast, and I'm telling you right now, she's already getting big-time buzz around the WNBA.
No, I think it's awesome. I think it's so funny because she's like 22, 23 years old, and the whole world is watching her.
Here we go. The Indiana Fever just pulled off their 5th straight win. But forget the box score for a second, because the real headline isn't about the streak. It's about Sophie Cunningham going full savage on her own teammates in a way that's got the whole WNBA talking. This wasn't just a win. This was a masterclass in what happens when one player catches fire from deep and her team somehow refuses to feed her the ball. Sophie was raining threes like it was target practice. 4 from beyond the arc, ice in her veins, while the rest of the team bricked every single three they took, literally 0 for one team. And instead of riding the hot hand, they froze her out. She's sitting there wide open, torching the net, and her teammates are jacking up contested shots early in the clock like it's a solo contest. Sophie didn't hide her frustration either. She spoke out, sending a message that could shake the Fever locker room. This is more than just bad basketball IQ. This is the kind of drama that can split a team right in the middle of a playoff push. And we need to break down exactly how this went down and why Sophie Cunningham had every reason to be furious. The Fever's 5th straight win should have been a celebration, a feel-good story about a team climbing the standings and proving doubters wrong. Instead, it turned into one of the most frustrating wins of the season because what happened on the court defied every bit of basketball logic. Sophie Cunningham was locked in from the opening tip, moving without the ball, spacing the floor, hitting her spots, and burying threes like it was the easiest thing in the world. She was the offensive engine no one could stop. And yet, somehow, possession after possession, she was ignored. The ball kept finding the wrong hands at the wrong time, leading to contested bricks and wasted opportunities. This wasn't about the Storm's defense figuring her out, they didn't. This was about her own teammates freezing out the player who could have blown this game wide open by halftime. And instead of feeding her and ending it early, they let Seattle hang around just long enough to make this a nail-biter. The Fever escaped with the win, but not without showing the kind of bad habits that could cost them big when the stakes get higher. What makes this even crazier is just how wide the shooting gap was. Sophie Cunningham was surgical from deep 4 of 5 from three-point range. That's an insane 80%. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fever were a complete disaster, from behind the arc 0 for 17. Not a single make all night. Let that sink in. One player is nearly perfect, everyone else can't buy a bucket, and yet she's the one not getting the ball. That's not just bad offense, that's basketball malpractice. Any team with even basic IQ would run every single play through the hot shooter until she cooled off. But instead, the Fever acted like they didn't notice. And by the third quarter, it got even worse. They flat out stopped looking for her. She's waving her hands, spotting up, ready to shoot, but the ball never comes. That's not just frustrating for Sophie. That's infuriating for any fan who knows the game. And here's where the blood starts to boil. The shots Sophie should have been taking were going to Kelsey Mitchell, who was having one of the worst shooting nights you'll see from a professional. 3 for 16 from the field, 0 for 8 from three-point range. Yet she kept firing like she was in a video game with unlimited lives. Every brick felt like a punch to the Fever's momentum. And yet, the coaching staff left her out there for 29 minutes while Sophie stood wide open, deadly accurate, and starving for touches. This isn't about one player having an off night that happens to everyone. This is about recognizing it, adjusting, and putting the ball in the hands of the one player who couldn't miss. Instead, Indiana ran the same broken possessions over and over, letting Seattle creep back in and turn a potential blowout into a dangerous fourth quarter fight. The most baffling part? The Fever weren't protecting a massive lead. This was a tight, high-stakes game where every possession mattered. And instead of slowing things down, working the clock, and getting the ball to the unstoppable shooter, they were jacking up quick, contested threes like they were trying to make a highlight reel. That's not winning basketball. That's reckless, selfish, and borderline sabotage. And it wasn't just the players making bad decisions, it was the coaching too. Stephanie White had every chance to change the offense on the fly, to run plays designed for Sophie, to ride the hot hand until the wheels fell off. But instead, she let the offense spiral into chaos, sticking with a rotation and a shot selection that nearly handed Seattle the game on their home floor. It's the kind of stubborn decision-making that championship teams simply do not survive, and Seattle smelled blood. In the final 5 minutes, they ripped off an 11-0 run that turned what should have been a comfortable win into a full-blown panic attack for Fever fans. The momentum swung hard, the crowd got loud, and suddenly every possession felt like it could decide the game. Credit to Indiana for keeping their composure just enough to survive, but make no mistake, they were playing with fire. Earlier in the season, this exact kind of collapse would have buried them, and everyone in that locker room knows it. The only reason they escaped was because of grit, luck, and a few big defensive stops down the stretch. But that doesn't erase the fact that the offense completely abandoned the one weapon that could have iced this game long before Seattle ever got close. And if they keep making that mistake, next time they won't get away with it. Now imagine being Sophie Cunningham in that moment, standing wide open in the corner, knowing you're the deadliest shooter on the floor that night, watching possession after possession go to waste as teammates brick contested shots like it's a tryout for who can miss the most. It's not just frustrating, it's mentally crushing for a competitor. From the very first quarter, Sophie had been the hot hand, making it clear she was the go-to threat from deep. But as the game wore on, the ball stopped finding her. Instead of running smart sets to exploit her shooting, the Fever kept forcing up bad looks early in the shot clock, almost daring Seattle to come back. And Kelsey Mitchell's shot selection was the worst of the bunch, 0 for 8 from 3, still letting it fly as if she was Steph in his prime. That's not confidence, that's delusion, and it was killing the Fever's rhythm. And this is where leadership, or the lack of it, starts to show. Sophie Cunningham isn't some rookie trying to earn her stripes. She's a proven veteran who's been around the league long enough to know what winning basketball looks like. When a vet like that is lighting it up and still getting ignored in favor of a teammate having a nightmare shooting night, it sends a dangerous message. That the pecking order doesn't matter, that common sense doesn't matter, and that winning takes a back seat to stubborn shot chasing. That's how chemistry cracks start to form. And in a playoff race, those cracks can turn into full-blown fractures. Sophie didn't come to Indiana to be a decoy while her teammates fire blanks. She came here to compete for wins, to be trusted when the game is on the line, and to have the ball in her hands when she's the one who can close the deal. The numbers make this impossible to excuse. Sophie Cunningham, 80% from 3. The rest of the team, 0%. 0. And somehow, the offense kept running through the cold shooters. That's not just bad decision-making. That's a complete breakdown of basketball logic. Any halfway aware coach or teammate would have shifted the entire offense to feed Sophie every single trip down the floor. Instead, Stephanie White stuck with the same rotations, hoping the ice-cold players would suddenly heat up. And it almost cost them the game. This wasn't garbage time shooting. Every one of Sophie's makes came in a close game when points mattered most. Yet she was left stranded in the corner while possessions died in other people's hands. You don't win championships by ignoring the hot hand. And if this is the Fever's approach now, imagine what happens against real playoff defenses. The Fever might have escaped with their 5th straight win, but make no mistake, this game exposed a glaring flaw that could blow up their playoff hopes if it's not fixed immediately. Sophie Cunningham did everything right. She shot the lights out, played tough defense, stayed locked in, and was ready to carry the offense. Her reward? Being frozen out while teammates fired up brick after brick in one of the ugliest displays of shot selection you'll see all season. That's not just a missed opportunity. That's a failure in basketball IQ from top to bottom, players and coaches included. In the pros, you ride the hot hand, period. When someone's hitting at 80% while the rest of the team is stuck at 0, the ball should never leave their radar. The Fever can celebrate the streak now, but if they don't fix this, the streak will die fast and ugly. Sophie Cunningham's frustration isn't just understandable, it's a warning. Either this team learns to feed its stars when they're cooking, or they'll be watching the playoffs from the couch wondering how they let wins slip through their fingers.